Did you know many NBA stars have had their fathers killed at a young age? Despite leading lives of luxury and excitement, many have survived their fathers' deaths as children. We take you into the tragic stories of 6 NBA superstars. Here's the story of NBA tragedy, fathers found dead. We all get to see them at the height of their success. Many athletes keep their private lives out of public view. Most don't bring up traumas from their past, especially when they were kids. A few of these stories have played out more publicly as athletes were older, but most lie under the surface of these superstars' bright smiles. Larry Bird is a 3-time MVP and champion for the Boston Celtics. He's the only person in NBA history to be named Rookie of the Year, Most Valuable Player, Finals MVP, All-Star MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year.
Again, Larry, there's a lot of talk about the great defense done on you. Your shooting wasn't going real well, but you really came back with a super performance. How do you feel about having come so close in college, and now you're in the pros, you got the big one?
No, this is a very big one for us. We practiced awful hard this year. We stuck together. When going got tough, we came through. They came back on us.
Well, they're taking care of Larry here. He's the man who did it.
Despite the massive amount of success, Larry grew up with modest beginnings. Bird came from a really poor family in the small town of French Lick, Indiana. His mom worked 2 jobs to support him and his 5 siblings. Bird said that being poor left a lasting motivation in his life he has never forgotten. Larry's father was a Korean War veteran and worked construction but was often unemployed. Bird's father struggled with alcohol addiction and his parents divorced when he was in high school. Soon after the divorce, his father failed to pay child support payments and told Larry's mom they were better off without him. Larry was playing AAU basketball and their team was in a state tournament when he received the news that his father had died by suicide. Larry said he felt his dad had given up on himself and on him and his siblings. Kawhi Leonard is one of the few players to have been selected as Finals MVP on more than one team. He's often been characterized as weird or standoffish by the media. Many people don't understand his dark past.
I'm a fun guy. Obviously, I love the game of basketball. It's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about myself. I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
Kawhi grew up in Compton, California with his mom, dad, and 4 older sisters. His father owned a car wash, and Kawhi would spend hours side by side with his dad, rinsing cars and helping dry. In high school, as a 16-year-old sophomore, Kawhi had started to blossom as a player and was hoping to win a state title. While he was away training, the following happened.
It started when a friend came by hoping Mark would help mediate a dispute. She says she didn't know who the other people were. There was a loud discussion, everyone left, and then she noticed something unusual.
This truck where the other people were in kept driving back and forth by the car wash.
Hours later, at closing time, someone walks through the gate and comes up towards them.
And he had on a gray sweatshirt and his hood over his head and all these dark clothes, but you couldn't see him, and he had something across his face. You could only see eyes. And I said, and when I went to say, who the heck is that? He starts shooting.
The suspect then stands over Mark Leonard and keeps shooting. He then runs off.
I ran outside and laid on Mark's back and was telling him, hey, you got to make it. You know, what about me? What about the baby, the kids?
Kawhi would use basketball as an escape, but he'd say this about his father. He'd be very proud. I try to play as hard as I can each night. That's what my father would have wanted me to do. Despite the trauma, the murder still remains unsolved to this day.
How has what you've gone through in the past, losing your dad, things like that, motivated you to be here today?
Once it happened, I thought about it a lot. But as I got older, I just pretty much really stopped thinking about it. But I think it just gave me a sense of feel that life and basketball are 2 different things, and just really enjoy your time and moments. And like I always say, just this is basketball. Just go out there and have fun. These are going to be the best years of my life playing this game. And being 27 is this young, you shouldn't be stressing in life. About things that really don't matter. As long as your family's healthy, you're able to see the people that you love, and you're able to walk and run. You're not injured. So all those things are accountable. Go out here, lay it all out on the floor, do the best job I could possibly do, and try to win.
Chris Paul is considered to be one of the greatest point guards who ever played. consistently taking several teams to the playoffs, including the Hornets, Clippers, Rockets, Thunder, and Suns. But behind the longtime Player Association president and State Farm spokesperson lingers a painful past. Paul grew up in the hotbed of basketball culture in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, close to the campuses of Duke, UNC, and the hometown Wake Forest University. Chris's father taught him and his brother to play sports, and all three shared the initial CP. Since Chris was the youngest, he got the nickname CP3. Paul would spend his summers working with his grandfather at his family gas service station.
So this house right here is Papa Chili.
My Papa Chili was my mom's dad and had maybe one of the biggest impressions on my life, Granddad's service station. So when me and my brother grew up working every summer, day in and day out, we learned a lot of our life lessons there. First African-American to own a gas station in North Carolina. He taught me and my brother about hard work.
Paul considers his grandfather his best friend. On November 14th, Paul and his family had one of their happiest days as he accepted a scholarship to play basketball at Wake Forest. The next day, Paul would receive the shocking news that his grandpa had been robbed and killed with no suspects to be found.
My granddad would have wanted me to play, and they keep telling me that he's watching down on me. I know that, but it's not the same.
Paul would hatch a plan for his next game to score 1 point for each year of his granddad's life.
How about 61 points for your granddad? And I just thought to myself, that would be lovely. And I just thought to myself, ain't no way I could do that. This is one of the times that I just felt there's no way that, I don't care what kind of defense you play, who you put in front of me, there's no way you're going to stop me from getting that goal. The whole game I was just thinking about my granddad, just thinking, he's in heaven, he's watching this game. He's watching this game. Every time somebody hits me to the floor, he's up there jumping out of his seat, getting angry. And then as the course of the game went on, I said, I can do this.
2 minutes to go in the game, Chris had scored 59 points. Then he drove to the hoop, took a hard foul, and the shot dropped. He had his 61.
And I laid it up, and I got fouled, and it went in. And I laid there for a second and was just overwhelmed because I knew that at this moment in time, this is something I will never forget. It felt like I could have just died and went to heaven right there. It felt like my purpose for being here was almost over.
His total left him just 6 points away from the state record for most points in a game. But as he walked to the foul line, that didn't matter. 61 did.
I walked to the free throw line. The referee gave me the ball and shot an air ball right out of bounds. And my coach took me out. I just looked at my dad and started crying.
It's like everything came out of him. He just walked over to me and gave me a hug, and he just fell in my arms. And that's when it just tore me up, because of what he had just done.
LeBron James is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He's on pace to be top 5 in all-time career records for points, minutes, assists, and steals, to name a few. He has a beautiful family and countless businesses outside of sports. Despite this reality, LeBron spent much of his time as a young kid in stressful situations.
James was 16 years old when she had me.
Your mom raised you pretty much by herself. Was a teenage mother, unmarried. First of all, do you know your biological father's whereabouts?
Never met my father. So right then and there, I already knew it was going to be some type of struggle.
Early years, we probably moved 12 times. I never complained, never. We're already going through tough times. It doesn't make it any better if I'm complaining. Mother said it was time to go. Packed my little book bag and it was time to roll. You definitely see things as a young age that you don't never want your kids to see.
While LeBron's mom was always in the picture, less can be said about his father. There's some controversy online over who LeBron's father is. People often naming Roland Bivens, who dated LeBron's mom, as his father. Bivens was a high school state champion in basketball and shared some of LeBron's traits. Despite the mystery, longtime Cleveland friend / reporter Brian Windhurst had this to say.
I mean, when he says it's a miracle that he shouldn't be there, he's right. I mean, there were guys who he grew up with who were killed. His father was killed.
Bivens was shot and killed when LeBron was 8 years old. LeBron had this to say about his father.
You've talked about how important being a dad is to you, and you've been open about the fact that that's partly because you didn't know your father growing up. You want to be the opposite. I was still pretty surprised, I got to tell you, to see your Instagram post from earlier this year. You basically wrote a note to your dad, and you said, you know what, I don't know you, I have no idea who you are, but because of you is part of the reason I am who I am today. The fuel that I use, you not being there, it's part of the reason I grew up to become who I am. What made you decide to... go out like that?
I don't know, but I think it's the truth. I think, my whole life growing up, I think I just kind of always said, why me? Why me? Why didn't my dad want to be around? I feel like I'm a pretty cool kid. I'm a good kid. Why wouldn't he want to be around for me? And then as I got older and kind of had my own family, I started to think, the reason he wasn't there is the reason why I became so strong mentally.
Despite this awful situation for any young person, LeBron has done well through the adversity. Michael Jordan is a 6-time champion and 6-time Finals MVP, considered by most the greatest basketball player ever. The owner of athletic gear Jordan Brand, who sold his hometown Charlotte Hornets for close to a $3 billion profit. Despite his massive success, MJ couldn't avoid tragedy. Spending most of his childhood in Wilmington, North Carolina with his parents, things seemed happy. Jordan was recruited by Dean Smith at North Carolina, where he would attend and win a national championship. As Jordan ascended the basketball world, his father was present, but in July 1993, his father was murdered. His car was found on the side of the road, but his body was discovered later in a swamp. The carjackers hadn't realized it was Michael Jordan's father and were caught and sentenced to life in prison. Jordan would retire from basketball a few months later to pursue his dad's love, which was baseball.
What I take out of my father not being here with me today is that he saw my last basketball game. We're pretty strong and we're moving forward with our lives, and we got a lot of memories to think about, and we just try to keep forward.
Batting 193 with 2 homers and 44 runs batted in.
2 home runs? Make that 3.
I think what this guy's doing is fulfilling a lifelong dream. He's the greatest basketball player in the history of the game. I don't think we'll live long enough to see a better player. This is what he's always wanted to do. He's wanted to play baseball.
I don't really have any feelings against him yet. I guess because it hadn't really sunk in yet. But it's a lot of sadness out there with people who do these things for whatever reasons that they choose to do that. But I just really hadn't quite understood the reasoning for that. And I know
you say it hasn't sunk in yet?
No.
No?
I still think about it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Would you want to ever say to them, why?
No, because I don't want to know.
You don't?
No. Because it probably would hurt me even more just to know their reasons. Because if it is, it's going to be totally meaningless to the reason. And it's better that I don't know.
I mean, I know he had to pass, but I think he was murdered. And the fact that he was murdered is a searing kind of pain. I mean, have you dealt with that? Have you accepted the fact he was murdered?
No, because I'm a very optimistic person to a sense that I don't look at the real bad part of it. I look at no matter what happened to my father, he's not here.
Yeah.
So he's passed to me. Mm-hmm. I want to look at it in a good sense.
Jordan would later unretire and use the number 45 as a way of honoring his father before winning 3 more championships with the Bulls. Charles Barkley had one of the most colorful NBA careers.
I'm not a role model.
He starred on the court, broke all the rules on and off of it, and went on to become the biggest media voice in basketball for over 20 years. Despite gold medals and an MVP trophy, Charles had a tough childhood. Charles Barkley grew up in Leeds, Alabama, the first black baby born at a segregated all-white hospital. His father abandoned him at a young age, but his mother remarried. Unfortunately, his stepfather was killed in a car accident when Charles was 11. Despite the double trauma, Chuck offered these words on why his media career has been so successful.
I suppose people want to listen to you.
I think they know that I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be fair, I don't have a hidden agenda. Not many people on TV that you can say that about.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.